CBS News.
It's Saturday, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Saturday Night Sellswords Presents Character Death. We're going to start with Joshua.
Hello, I'm Joshua.
I'm sorry.
Not character. This is not player death, it's character
You're a character.
death.
Anyway, so we've decided to break down how to deal with your character dying in 5 easy steps.
The 5 stages of character death.
Yes, because it gives me enough grief.
I'll get you through it. The first stage is obviously going to be denial. And what do we do with that? Well, how are you going to deny your character from dying in the first place?
A chance to deny the character dying. One of the best way is do not build a character who's not meant to survive. If you have a rogue that doesn't stealth or backstab, you got a guy just walking around going,
If you choose a class, play the class. You know, there's a lot of
yeah, if there's a
classes.
class feature, stick with that class feature.
It's cool sometimes you bend the rules and you want to be the different one. But if you're a cleric who doesn't heal, what are you doing?
I mean, just to randomly add this, we had a guy who built a monk on a video recorded campaign, and his idea was, what I'm going to do with this character?
Make him
Make him
be.
completely new. Like, that's going to be some great arcade. I'm going to love this.
I didn't think of that.
Die in the same session.
Yeah, when it comes to denying, one of the biggest things I can recommend is look at feats and stuff like that. So toughness is a very good feat for a lot of spellcasters.
Yeah. And just your normal stats themselves. You know, Constitution is a great thing to always boost because that's your health immediately. And also, just study your class. What makes your class more powerful by itself? So if you're a warlock, dunk into charisma. If you're a cleric, dunk into constitution and charisma. So you just have and wisdom. Yeah, a lot of different ones for cleric. But you kind of just want to build your character up so that at the end of the day you are everyone way to just let them die.
And once again, I feel that most people are playing 5e, and this is made incredibly easy by Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I believe that's what it's called, where you can just make your race, it can be whatever name you want it to be, and you just do the custom lineage, and you can put your bonuses and the stats you want, you can get the beats you like, and still be able to have something you feel is original. Yes, I have a million things for tonight. Do you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, you want to, any questions about denying your character's death?
Why?
Well, on to anger then. And anger, yes. And anger is going to be your emotional reaction to your character dying. Because we've all been there. We've all had this treasured character that we've worked so hard on the backstory and we treasure every moment, and then boom, fireball.
Or anti-magic.
Okay, just one time. The fireball. And your immediate reaction is obviously going to be, darn it. And what comes after that, really, you need to hold yourself back and realize it's a game. Everyone around you is trying to enjoy themselves and make a story. Don't freak out.
And I disagree. Give yourself you can have a good 5 minute of just actual anger. Actual, just, you. 3 letters, I'm not going to say because I don't know the age of everyone in the room. But to be perfectly honest, if you're going to be that table flipping, wall kicking, angry person, just say, hey guys, give me 5 minutes to step outside and collect myself. And then after you full-on rage, got really pissed off about your character death, find your DM and say thank you, because the only reason there's nothing that makes me angrier than watching somebody just... Yeah. Now, start rolling up that new character. Start thinking, you know what? This time I'm going to play the Pixie Barbarian.
Yes.
Use that anger toward the next guy that has to come in, you know.
And just to let you guys know, if at any time you have any questions, feel free to throw your hand up. We'll be more than happy to answer.
Yes.
Oh, good question.
Hello. As a DM, how do you deal with players dealing with their own character dying? Because
Alright, I personally, I've seen a lot of DMs handle this. I've handled it different ways myself. One of my favorite ways is, honestly, just the back of the book or a page, just have a list of character deaths. And yeah, he actually gave me this idea. It's like you have a list of character deaths, how they died, and it's sort of a little, epitaph of, like the fallen hero that made this campaign possible. And that's usually the best way. It's like you give them a little something to get over it, because I'm not going to hold a funeral for a piece of paper. I have a fireplace in my house. We will have a fire, but that's more for fun than actual, emotional. But honestly, it's the best way to handle that. How would you handle your character's character death?
My own character's death? Or
No, you was a DM.
I haven't had that. So I haven't had that in real life yet. But the way I imagine having to deal with that is just talking to them. If their character dies, actually, in a second, but you just kind of want to make them understand that you're not doing this to them personally. It's just part of the game. Stuff happens, rules are made, bad rules happen all the time, and it happens.
And honestly, a one-on-one conversation, just telling them, hey, that wasn't personal. It's a dice roll. There, you saw what happened. You're just going to have to, you're going to have to accept this if you want. As DM, I always suggest helping out your characters building it. It's like, okay, here's where you messed up. You had no comment.
That's a mistake.
Alright, so if you want to move on to the next one. Pardon?
Yeah, bargaining. All right, so bargaining.
Take this one.
So bargaining is going to be essentially talking to your DM about what to do next, along with also talking to the players. There's a good chance that someone somewhere has something that can save you, and also maybe the DM won't just let your character die or anything like that. Players have skills, feats, and items that can bring you back. A true res is a thing. Everyone knows that amazing spell that brings you back to life perfectly fine. No regrets. Miracle, Wish, Clerics have a fundamentally huge list of spells. There are multiple items. And a lot of times you're going to be looking at your character's death and you're going to completely forget about looking at your own items that you may have. One of my characters just recently, I was attacked. I went just a point away from death, and I thought to myself, oh, he's about to die, so I just got ready for it. And then after the session, I was looking, and I had an item that would have completely nullified the situation. I just forgot it was on there. So, look through what you have, talk to your other players, talk to your DM, bargain, and see if you really are going to die this exact moment. Because chances are, someone can save you. Yes?
So as a dungeon master, if you have a character who after the fact realizes, oh wait, they should have actually survived that killing blow, how would you interpret that?
I guess it depends on the dungeon master. Because sometimes, I know your thing is, and I kind of followed as well, if you didn't say anything, and you didn't, react to it, it's on you. Your character is your own character. You should know what you've written down. You should know your stats, your spells, your items. You should know them. And it's not the DM's
Responsibility.
Responsibility to know what you have on your sheet. Because he's already got the entire game to do. And your fellow players also aren't entitled to know what you So,
Kissing the DM's butt's not job.
kissing up last words. But,
One thing I recommend is, with bargaining, is if you really liked your character, my recommendation, talk to your DM, see if you can't work it into the story of your party, bringing that character back. Or, you know, you could always work with your other players and go, hey guys, this is the spell that we do, also means this. And honestly, if you want to change your character slightly, I think 3.5 had a very fun spell called Reincarnation. I don't know if it's still in 5th edition. Oh, perfect. So Reincarnation is fun because you can come back as a different race. If you have the expanded racial list, well, that can get really fun. It's like, what are you? Well, I'm an Aarakocra druid. But yeah. And honestly, just if you are going to try to bring your character back and bring in a new character with bargaining, you know, just make sure that it's fitting to the story. And it's like, oh well, you know, all magic has been outlawed. Okay, so we're true resin everybody today. You know. And as far as your question went with the how would you handle a character as a DM handling a character who died and had something that could have halted the dying. Me personally, it's you had 1 hour in which to say something about that where I could have fixed that. Otherwise, it seems like even your character didn't know about it, so it was not going to be able to be used.
and we have a question?
Yes, as a DM, I've dealt with characters that got tired of who they're playing, so they try to get themselves killed. What do you recommend?
Actually, we're going to cover this a little later on, but I'll cover it right now. Personally, when somebody doesn't want to play a character, just retire them. Because the worst thing another player can do is like, okay, we're in a boss fight. All right, it's 7 on 7. Oh crap, he died. 6 on 7. You know, which now that can end badly for the whole party, and it could eventually snowball into a TPK. As I'm sure you've seen at least once. Every experienced DM is going to have to deal with a TPK at some point.
If you don't enjoy playing the character, the question is, why are you playing the character? And this
That's like when you start a team.
I mean, at that point, you figure out you did.
Yeah, and the second you realize I would just state that in session 0, your first game with everybody, you're doing the exploration of the world. If you don't like your character, here are the legitimate ways out of your character. Jumping off the edge of a cliff is not on that list. Oh, what? He falls down, lands on an orphan, and now you have to go and murder somebody. That's why we only let you do 1-shots. Anyway. Okay. Do we have any other questions? Feel free.
All right, moving on.
Okay, moving on. Just a word.
Dispersion.
Yes, depression, aka dispersion, handing out the loot. Always trying to keep a detailed inventory of what is on your character, because at some point you could get true res that's via the story, or they can go to the plane of wherever your soul is to try to bring it back to your body. And then you're going to need to know what all your loot was, because rogues still exist. Yeah.
You have another question?
I did have another question. I had an entire party be suicidal in a different manner. They're like, hey, we see that story plot item over there, the big wizard tower. We're going to go fight him now, level 5. And they had established canonically that he was level 20 necromancer. Everything I did they ignored it. I don't know, I tried to set up like even, you know, the powerful archetypes in their own situation wouldn't go fight them at this point. Nobody wanted to help them fight. An army straight up avoids that entire country. Like, how can I make it more obvious not to go do this?
Me personally, I would put several large barriers in between them. It's like, okay, now here's a fight with the gate guards. Let's lower that HP a little bit. All right, here's a a couple of more heavier guards. Let's lower that HP in the spell list a little more. And as soon as they only have one spell list, 10 HP and no heals left, they'll turn around. Don't make it easy on them.
Just keep putting obstacles in their way until they realize, oh, we can't do it this way.
Or you just make it really hard to find so that way they get nice and lost. The illusion of choice is always my favorite thing. It's like, okay, you come to a fork in the road, which way do you go? Either way is going to lead to the way you're going, but you don't know that.
Is that your question?
Yeah.
Awesome. So back to dispersion. As you were saying, all your items that you have after death need to go somewhere. Now, whether you're going to go to true rest or you're just going to die, where are the items going? Some would say to liquidate all your items, sell them to the party. Your party needs money, and a lot of times your character will have a lot of loot on them, and it'll be a great day for some people. And you can also talk to your party to see what items you might want to keep for the next character. Like, let's say you had a +5 sword, and you didn't want to just lose that all of a sudden. You can be like, hey, you just keep this for the next character, and then the rest of you guys can have. Which, most time, if you have a very amicable party, will agree to that.
Well, and once again, I like to keep the list of mine, especially my magic weapons, because it's like, okay, I do want my character back. You can sell everything but these items that I had and go buy me back.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. You can also put it in a kind of contract with the other characters. If I were to die, sell all my assets to buy a true red scroll. And
So sort of like an advanced directive of what you like done with your character.
yes, sign with consent.
Why would you sign that without consent? Like, no, I don't want to tell you what to do with my gear.
Well, there's no joker. Everyone's telling you it's also.
Yeah, but they know what they did after.
Yeah, no fun.
Anyway, so the dispersion of good, yeah, I highly recommend keeping a detailed list of everything your character has, and also other abilities, see, bargaining. You don't want to die knowing, oh, look, I did have that thing.
That's always the worst. Yeah, actually, one of the best advice we can give is stay organized, which I know is one of the crutches of everyone who plays D&D, trying to stay organized with everything in front of you. The better organized you are, the better of chances you have not to die, which is denial.
Okay. So, what do we do after denial?
Well, after denial is acceptance. You accept that your character is dead. Very, very dead. And it's time to move on with your life into other lives. So after going through all the steps, seeing whether or not you're going to true res your character or make a new character, it is now time to go back into the world of your own journey.
Yes. So when it comes to at this point you're either building a whole new character, bring your character back. You should be trying to look at what were the main causes of your character's death. It can happen, or your player's character's death if you're DMing. You just had to take that guy out. It's like if you died because you had a very, very low con score or very, very bad dice rolls, it's like that's something to work on. It's like, okay, I got bad dice rolls. Well, stop using dice. I know that there's a number of card systems you can use for dice rolling. You can use digital dice, which, once again, it's more of an arbitrary luck thing than anything. But we have all had that one die that has never seen the 20 side face up in its life. It's not as dice, it's him.
I got average luck.
Okay. Anyway, so that pretty much covers the entirety of the 5 stages of grief, Josh. So we do an open Q&A. honest answer, I would just take that player aside and go, hey man, that was not personal. What happened was you decided to walk up to a terrace covered in barbecue sauce, thinking that was going to act as armor. It happened, I'm sorry, it was, I had a great dice roll of 2, and you had a terrible dice roll of less. I'm willing to help you work on your next character, or we're going to tell him we can work on introducing him into the story, but just know that this wasn't personal. I don't hate you, I hate everyone.
Thank you.
Did you let me answer that question?
I think you're doing pretty well.
Praise me.
Any other questions about, yes?
You mentioned when a character dies, you might get the option to price track that as your resurrection scroll. Would you just feel like that in the case of like TPK, like friends of theirs that no longer win a chance to try to proceed with these?
I feel it's completely acceptable. It's like, hey, if you guys want to roll a couple of minor temp characters or anything like that to try to bring back the whole party, that's perfectly fine. But just realize that those 10 characters are starting at level 1. So I'm not going to make it easy on you. And true res scrolls are going to be real difficult to get.
The beat team has the same VA team essentially. You also, I mean, if you got really into it at the end, you could have it so that your characters die, maybe end up on a different plane, because we have to escape that.
I'm just thinking of all the different funny things you can do with just a series of characters who keep dying and trying to bring back. It's like we finally got the 2 res scroll. We can bring back the D team, okay, which will then continue questing for the 2 res scroll for the B team, which will in turn bring back the A team.
You're trading in a floppy, trading back to get that to you over there.
Oh, yeah, there's a huge convoluted development box.
Perfect.
It's the same with the Eternals.
But yeah. Oh no, we have an armpit over here.
Do you have any advice for dealing with a character death where the character was pivotal to a major plot point?
Well, if your character is that pivotal to the plot point, then you're going to have to figure out a way to bring them back. And that would be, are you asking as a DM or a player?
Yes.
So as a DM, you are, the god of the world. If you want, you can bring them back any number of ways. But making it so it's not just, I brought them back because I have to bring them back. It's up to you and your storytelling ability. A lot of different options. Have the other players quest to bring them back. If the other players know that they can't proceed without that character for whatever reason, they'll have to go and figure out how to bring that character back. You can make it a couple of good sessions of just a quest to raise Flanagan so we can open the door of mistrust. As a player, I would go through my items, I would go through everything I have and talk to the other players and see what we have that could possibly bring back that character. Barbie. See, we're coming back. Look at us go. Got it. But at the end of the day, it's really just talking to your DM about it because they control the world and if you have your DM on your side, you can do anything.
To cover that question as well, the important thing here would be if it's essential to the DM's plot and that character dies, I personally believe that either if that character's not coming back, you could always leave clues, details towards that plot point that would move the story forward with the party to lead them down that same plot. That way, you don't have to completely rewrite your story. You just need to rewrite that one page in that one chapter. But if that person wants to come back, well now, once again, that's one page. Just let's get this guy back so that we can move on to what we were doing. I hope that answers your question.
Any other questions from you?
No, they have no more questions. Your answer's always bargaining.
I got one.
So I have one thing. Also, when you guys were talking about keeping that, like, then if they have to do that, well, how do you deal with anger from that? Because then, when
To me, as a DM, I don't think any one player should have that kind of plot relevancy. Like, if one character dies and it kind of screws up your entire story, I think you've kind of messed something up along the way. To me, as a DM, each one of your adventures is a band, a team that goes and does their thing. If they lose a part of that team, it can be replaced by somebody else, and it can be grown or shaped what needs to get done to get your quest done. If the quest is linked to a single character, that single character is one thing you're riding on to get there, maybe as a DM you should change how you're telling your story.
And I completely disagree. I believe that yes, when you are a party, every single party member at some point should get their 15 minutes of fame, their time to shine, their chance to be their character and be the main plot point if you're doing a long campaign. And so to say it's like, oh no, it's a group effort. No, it's like everybody gets their chance.
Did I answer your question? Awesome. And Blake, you had a question?
What's a good way to integrate a new character in the middle of a dungeon?
A very, very sick But no, in all actuality, one of my personal favorite ways to bring in a new character in a dungeon is when they leave. I'm sorry, you're in a dungeon, you're going to have to complete that dungeon before you get to meet new people. Although I have heard the argument for you find the prison cell inside the dungeon, you find a half-sprung trap with a man trapped in it. But honestly, if you're doing like the Tomb of Horrors or something like that, you're doing a death dungeon, you're not going to find a lot of survivors in there. You're not supposed to.
Yeah. It's called Tomb of Horrors and Tomb of Reincarnation.
So Josh, I have a question. If somebody doesn't know who Gary Gygax is, do I get to kill their character for free?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or they are.
Who's Gary Gygax?
I'm uninformed. I don't know about
Yeah. No, I'm good over here.
So character death is inevitable. Do you have any ideas for side work that you could assign a player while their character's dead and they're still trying to participate in the game?
Actually, I very much enjoy having them do the voices for my NPCs. So you now get to be the shopkeeper. Go.
I mean, you could also allow them to actually participate in being one of the animals.
Yes, that's an NPC, a non-player character.
I meant actually fighting as, the NPCs.
No, you get to be one of the NPCs. Okay, so I'm falling off a cliff. So you should jump off the cliff.
You're no longer falling.
Okay, does anybody else have any other questions? I have a question.
For someone who really likes to flirt with death and pushing it to you, how would you do
As a player, do that quite a bit myself. Highly recommend. It keeps things ticking,
that?
keeps things spicy.
It is nice, I get that, but I also am very afraid he's going to try to deviate the plot way of trying to bring it down. I want to shepherd him.
You're trying to nudge your DM in the direction. I don't recommend playing that game. You're trying to nudge a DM and they'll just, oh, you hear that whistling noise? That's the sound of rocks falling. But no, when it comes to so you're done with the conversation. But if you can really, really agitate them, just get them really mad, you start offering the opposite of what you actually want. So when they're really mad, like, no, we're not doing that. We're not going to Levere. We're going to Camp Lightning. Oh.
Tribes also work just like
They love player tears and money.
lots of money. That's, you know, sliding a 20 across the table is worth more than points in our
Like I said, it's okay to be playful about it with the DM. I don't ever recommend being actually like argumentative with them. It gets really bad really quick. Yeah, you see.
I'm sorry, it's not me, it's a party cover. So, like, I'm gonna be the DM, so I know what I.
Well, and as the DM, when you start at session 0, if you don't want that to happen to you, you've got to be very, very firm with going like, hey guys, if you're going to argue with every decision I made, find somebody else to make the decisions.
Yeah, remember, you as a DM get to roll the D1, which is, I'm a DM, I get to do what I want.
It's actually in the books, roll 0. DM makes the rules. Okay, we have a question.
I did what you did, and we have a cleric who only takes cure wounds from using another healing, 30 level 9. They've got very close to unconscious. He's the only one who doesn't really bring healing or anything.
So it doesn't have like those gloves where you can do touch attacks at distance or stuff.
His options to take healing work.
Okay.
I think that kind of goes to the first thing we talked about, the 9. You know, you should play the class you're playing.
Yeah.
And if
That's what he
you
said to him.
yeah.
How do you explain that to him?
Not like the third edition.
I think the best way to tell them is just talk about the last battle you were in. You know, explain to him that show him the spells that you think he could be using, and show him like in the last battle you could have done this and you would have had. Sorry, my imagination's running dry, but.
You could have done this and this.
Yeah, you could have done this and that, and then no one would have died, or no one would have taken damage, or, Greg would have been satisfied. So,
If you want to show him the more versatility in his spells, I would recommend a more targeted combat where the answer might actually be the usage of some of his other spells or abilities, so that way he sees that there's more than one key on that keyboard. I hope that helps you.
That's if you're dying in 5 years, you're doing something really wrong.
yeah.
Or really right. So now, one of the things I was looking to bring up is the reason I'm up here for character death is the world's fastest character death. We were playing a Black Sea campaign, which is 40K, and I was playing something called Chem Hunter that required me to wear a mask the entire time. It basically filters drugs into their system to allow them to survive in any atmosphere. So I'm in a jail cell, and very start, opening smoke. You guys are in a jail cell. I asked him, am I wearing my mask? He goes, nope. I'm like, then I'm dead. He goes, then hand me your character. Okay.
Sometimes you do that before you even begin.
And in the short amount of time my friend here has been playing D&D, he's managed to kill everyone. Not everyone. You killed my wolf today.
Oh, well, that I'm very good at. But I mean, killing your character is pretty good.
Oh yeah, because I play heavy con dex barbarians.
Take full responsibility of everyone staying alive.
We have a guy over here, Alec, he plays a spellcaster. We have Van over here, he plays a spellcaster. Can you tell me how they're doing health-wise after
They're alive.
after your anti-magic? Yeah. You killed me.
Yeah.
He was actually turned into ashes. A little bit. That was fun, though, right?
Thanks.
New life experience.
Yeah.
Technically, he cured you.
Oh yeah, I cured you.
It's
too.
still there.
It's the reason I dropped.
The reason a lot of people.
And, so what I'm saying is character death will happen to everybody at some point. And it's practically inevitable. I've even, and I think honestly, if you're going to be DMing, you're dealing with the most character death of anyone. Pretty much every guy you've created right now is probably destined to get killed by some group of murder hobos. Oh, I'm sorry. My friend Robert, I called it murder tourist. It's like we travel to towns, we kill people.
And death is also a major part of any story. I think we discussed who everyone here probably has read or at least know of Harry Potter. Everyone remembers Dobby? Yeah. That heart-wrenching scenes, those heart-wrenching moments, that sticks with me. That's a
Spoilers, man.
I apologize.
I'm happy to do the first book. It started about 8 years ago.
Yeah. But that moment sticks in your mind, and even now, we all can just be like, oh, Dobby. But that is a major part of the story, and your character dying can also be a major part of your guys' collective story for the interview.
But now, I mean, since I have more time than I was expecting, and I get to cover this, like, if you got a very toxic player, and you know that you are going to be asking this person to leave, please be very creative with this character death. Do not be like, and the whole party swarms upon you and puts the boots to you. No, it's like, the hand of Moradin comes down, wielding a hammer, and crushes you. Yes. And, okay, so we're going to cover player versus player combat and death related to the anger of player versus player.
7 minutes left.
7 minutes left. Okay, I want to cover player versus player. Some DMs will not allow player versus player fighting, and some will. I personally want to bring down that I don't like player versus player fighting where lethality is on the table, because inevitably at some point someone's going to get butthurt. You can lose one or both players and not just characters. Just don't want to come and play anymore. So the way I like to get around that is, okay, if you guys want to fight, you guys can enter the practice pit. You guys can basically declare all damage from this point is not lethal, and just, it's a practice round. Enjoy, fight, see who would win. Because it allows them to get that aggression out, see who's better, without leading to a character death.
I personally, I don't like player versus player. I usually don't allow it because when you do, it kind of just leaves the whole question of, oh, my character's better because I can beat you up faster. A wizard versus a barbarian. If the wizard can't fire off a spell that can stop that barbarian in the first round, that wizard's probably going to get pummeled into nothing in about 10 seconds.
Yeah,
Or sorry, 6 seconds.
Can't stop from getting hit by a spell. That barbarian is going to get turned into something he doesn't want to get turned into.
Yeah, and it's back and forth. And trying to one up a player just because you want to, be the one up. I don't really like to see that within my group.
Yeah. And once again, I'd like to give you the chance to find out, because sometimes you ask that question. Oh, well, I don't play a fighter, I'm playing barbarian. I'm a sorcerer, not a wizard. I want to see who's going to win.
It's still always fun to do. It's especially like, let's say you're in the middle of a dungeon, and 2 players get into like a role play, they both want to fight. Well, now those 2 players are going to fight. One of them will be gravely injured in the middle of the dungeon. Now, they're going to spend healing resources to bring them back for whatever reason, and it's just, to me, kind of a waste of time. But to some, it's enjoyable.
All right, so it looks like we've got a good crowd for me to finally ask you guys this question. Is it all right to murder bards who keep trying to RP with NPC stuff that you don't want to talk about with that person? It's like, Who's the dragon? Dude, I'm the dragon. Seduce me, yes, fine. Yes. But basically, nobody wants to see me and this guy over here do dirty talking.
I do.
Okay. Roll for charisma. Yeah, exactly. I always let them try, but it's like, I'm not going to go into great detail on that. I know, right? Mainly because it gets weird for me. I'm just that kind of weirdo, I guess.
Well, I agree. I DM'd a group one time. I didn't really know them that well, and one of the first things they did was like one of those scenes, and I'm like, I really don't want to do this right now. It's kind of gross, and I'm like, well, it's the next day. Stuff happens. You might want to get that checked.
I think I'm going to start going the other way with it. I'm going to start going, ghost, and it's going to come up behind you while they're rolling, chain rolling, rolling. Maybe just as weird for them. More than enough. Does anybody else have any other questions before I have to go into another horrible story?
I basically wanted to know, so I believe that you played 5E with that saving throws. I'm actually not even familiar if that's the thing in all editions or if that's exclusive to 5E.
As far as I know, death saving throws are over most editions. And I don't know if it's a standard rule or it's a house rule. I've been doing so long, it's just stuck up in there now. But if you roll a crit 20 on a death saving throw, if you're at a wing, get one hit point. One hit point.
If you roll a 1, you get 2 fails.
Yes, that is the general rule. Thank you very much.
I basically wanted to know if that would change how combat goes, if that's not being a factor. I've been thinking about that.
For me as a player, it has changed quite a bit of things because I roll crits a little bit more than average. So I tend to be like, no, if I go unconscious, I'll just And all jokes aside, I think I've done that about 10 times.
Yeah, all jokes aside.
I don't know, I'm not. I'll just speak, not counting.
I've heard some mention that you have private people that stays with that better than so no one else knows.
It sounds like a wonderful concept I'd like to try to implement, but most of the campaigns I've been a part of, about 7 or 8 people, be a little difficult to privately roll. I mean, I've tried privately rolling things, and the guy he's just like, and I'm pretty sure he's just looking for snacks, but
You seem like it's all fat.
are you assuming that only fat people like snacks? It's very uninclusive.
It's broken.
I feel snack shame.
Which time do they have?
That's it.
Oh, okay.
That's time. That's time.
A great time. We're being told to get the hell out of this. Please check out our YouTube page, 7 and Excel story.
Thank you, guys. Very happy. I'll show you off next week.
Next week?
Yeah.
Yes.